Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Answers Life. I hope everyone's doing great today. I know it's been a few days since I've done a video, but to be quite honest, I haven't had anything to discuss. Nothing came across my mind to discuss. And secondly, I've been incredibly busy and tired due to being incredibly busy. But I am glad to be back with you guys today. And one conclusion that I have came to, really, this is, for many of you, this is probably something you've been thinking since forever. But the conclusion I then came to is America's favorite weapon is racism. And before I go on, for those of you that agree with that, I would like for you to comment below. Do you agree or do you disagree? Well, here's the reason why I think racism is America's favorite weapon. You see, while we're out here busy hating each other due to race, like you got people of my community, the black community, they might call the white person a devil, and you got people that are non-black. Some of them are running around claiming to have black fatigue, and so while we're out here, and also, I don't mean to get super deep into politics, but even during the time that Trump and Harris were running against each other, there's a lot of racial, uh, there's a lot of racial, I don't know how to word it, but a lot of the conversation when it came to politics during October and November, a lot of the conversation was racial. And let me explain. Like, when it came to the Democrat side of things, well, I guess I will be talking a little bit about politics. It's inevitable in this video. But when it came to, let's say, the Democrat side of things, you see, you had a lot of black people that they decided they're not going to vote Democrat because they didn't approve of some of the things that Joe Biden did. So they're going to either vote for Trump or they're going to not vote at all. But then when it was found out that Joe Biden wasn't going to be running and Harris was going to be running for president rather than Joe Biden running for president, now, and also when that happened, someone decided to spread the lie of Harris being a black woman, when we all know good and well she ain't black, she's Indian, but whatever. But when black people brought into the fact that Harris was a black woman, you had a lot of black people losing their natural mind, and they were going to vote for Harris. Never mind that her policies were garbage. They're going to vote for her strictly based on the fact that she was a so-called black woman. And from that point on forward, a lot of black people that still decided, you know what, now we're going to vote for Trump. Many of us, we got, we were made fun of. We were called all kind of ugly names because we weren't going to vote for this so-called black woman. So that's one example that America used racism as a weapon. And another example is like on the Republican side of things. Donald Trump, he was talking about how if he were to get elected, he's gonna clear out a lot of the migrants and immigrants, and he was gonna do his part to make America better. Now, I know it's make America great, but I say make America better. But anyways, but I'm pretty sure many of you can remember some of the ugly rumors that were going on when it came to the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. How they were eating the geese, eating people's best friend, all that. And I say rumor because to this day there has been no hard piece of information to corroborate rather any of that was true or not. So anyhow, that was another example of how America used racism as a weapon. Because what the Haitians were supposedly doing in Springfield, Ohio, it was plastered all over major news stations as well as social media. I even did a story on that myself on this channel. And so anyhow, a lot of people were voting for Trump because, we were, and I'm gonna be honest with you people, myself included. I mean, we all thought at the time that, I'm not saying that Trump is the best. I'm not saying that Trump doesn't go without flaws because he definitely didn't then. But most of us, when we vote, we typically vote for who we feel is the least of two evils. I'm gonna just keep it like that. So many of us, we were fed up with the shenanigans that were going on the previous 4 years. So we decided, let's vote for somebody different. Hopefully, there's a change of pay. Hopefully, there's a change, and the change is better. So that's what many of us believed. Now, so many of us, we voted for Trump for those reasons. And Trump was talking about how he was gonna, if he was gonna uh, get rid of a lot of the immigrants and migrants and people that came into this country moving forward would have to come into this country the right way, the legal way. And many of us are for that because many of us were American tax-paying citizens, and we don't want our tax dollars to go towards a bunch of people that don't belong here. Now, me personally, I don't care what race a person is, I'm gonna feel the same way regardless of the race of the person. But I'm pretty sure many of you are also aware of the fact that I want to say maybe a couple of weeks or so ago, there was a whole bunch of white South African refugees that were able to come into this country, they came into this country with the blessings of Trump and his sidekick Elon Musk. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be very honest with you, people. Now, and that in itself is a huge example of how America uses racism as a weapon against the average American person. Because my attitude is, okay, Trump, if you really meant that you were going to clamp down on the amount of immigrants and migrants that come into this country, you're gonna continue to beef up patrol, and he's got ICE agents going all over the country and arresting your immigrants. The majority of them that are being arrested happen to be Hispanic. They happen to be Hispanic. So I'm thinking, okay, if he's, I don't even know how to say it, but to me, if he's gonna have that, if he's gonna be doing all that, then how are you gonna turn around over here and allow a bunch of white South Africans to come into this country? Now, they're claiming that these people are refugees and they're victims of some of the things that have transpired in their country. Now, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here. Obviously, I'm just a normie like everybody else. So, I don't know the details of what's going on with these people. But one thing I do know is, for anybody that knows anything about South Africa, realizes that although South Africa is 90% black, I think like 96% black, something. No, it's 90 some percent black in South Africa, and there's like 10% or less of the population that's white. However, the white South Africans own over 90% of the resources in South Africa. So, with those numbers in mind, how are you going to call these white South Africans victims when their people own the vast majority of the resources in that country? I mean, the way that black Americans are always told that we need to quit being a victim. Racism is over. We need to grab it by the bootstraps and make it happen, like so and so did, and so over here did. My question is, how come these white South Africans aren't being told the same thing? You know what? Y'all need to make it happen for yourself. I mean, to me, that right there is a perfect example of racism. Yes, I said the word racism because that actually is racism. Because at the same time, Trump is trying to limit resources that Hispanics get from the United States. He's willing to give those resources to a bunch of white South Africans. Now, I guarantee if these individuals from South Africa were black South Africans, none of this would be happening. I mean, look at how the Africans have been treated. Like, for an example, in Springfield, Ohio, also in New York. But yet, now our tax dollars are going to go towards paying for the needs of these white South Africans. Now, me personally, I don't care what race you are. My attitude is, if you're not an American citizen, then you need to come into this country the right way. And when you come into this country, you need to pay your taxes. And I'm pretty sure that these South Africans that are coming into this country are not doing that. And they're probably not going to be doing that for a very long time. And I'm pretty sure these South Africans that are here are going to be utilizing all kind of American resources. So yeah. And I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. I mean, just like I was critical about Joe Biden, at this point, I'm critical about Donald Trump. Now, some people may say he's only been in the White House for a couple of months, so we need not to judge. I disagree. I think at this point, Donald Trump has done enough to where we need to judge. We need to be critical. Obviously, none of us are going to be able to do anything about what's going on. It is what it is. But I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because I'm not one of these people that are going to sit around and say Democrat bad, conservative good, or vice versa. I mean, like I told you, and this is one of the reasons why that I'm going back to my original stance on politics. I am not going to take no political side at all moving on forward. Any politician that runs, I don't care if it's local, state, or federal, I am going to be critical of all politicians. I just am. And another example of how this country uses racism as a weapon against the American people is, speaking of, like when you look at the white South Africans that came into this country a couple of weeks or so ago, it's kind of funny that right before it was reported that they came into this country. There were, you had you had, you know, the stabbing that went on in Texas, where that black 17-year-old stabbed his white classmate to death. And then right after that, maybe a couple of weeks or so after that, you had, you know, you had that situation going on in Cincinnati where the 18-year-old was caught stealing a car and law enforcement took his life, and the father went to law enforcement and he took their life. I'm not going to get into details about those cases. I mean, the one in Cincinnati, I did a story about that. If you want to know more of how I feel, I made a video about that a couple of weeks ago, so go watch it. And then right after that, you had the situation where you had a bunch of young white kids playing, I forget what they call the game, but they're playing a game to where they basically knock on someone's door and then they run off. Well, these people knocked on the wrong person's door. One person caught one and it costed him his life. Another person caught one, but they're lucky to still be alive and survive. And now the homeowner, he's sitting in jail over that situation. That case happened in Virginia. So I find it kind of, I guess you can say, I find it kind of ironic how these three stories happened, how they aired these three stories the way they aired them. And then, right after all that, surprise, surprise, now you have a bunch of white South Africans that are in this country as refugees. During the same time that supposedly Trump is trying to enforce immigration laws. And to be honest, I would say many of your Hispanics come from struggling situations than the white South Africans come from struggling situations. That's my opinion. Again, leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about that. So basically, again, while we're busy running around hating each other because so-and-so is white, or so-and-so is black, or so-and-so is Hispanic, we need to be paying much closer attention to what our leadership is doing, to how our leadership is allocating American resources, the American tax dollar. That's what we need to be paying attention to. You see, rather than running around and having these little, I don't know what you would call it. I'm not going to say it's a race war, but rather than us running around and hating each other over race, maybe we need to get together as American people and we need to start to heavily question our leadership. And if we're going to hate anybody, we need to hate the leadership of this country. I don't care if the leadership has a D right by their name or they have an R right by their name. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. I mean, it's not going to do any of us any good to hate each other. I mean, there's some people out here that they want a race war, which I think that's completely pointless. It's of no use because at the end of the day, none of us has control over anything out here. The few people that do control everything out here, they're actually glad that white people are facing black fatigue. They're actually glad that for blacks who dislike white people are disliking white people. See, the people that run things in this country, they're glad. I mean, they have us exactly where they want us. Basically, they have us out here fighting each other, mainly over dumb shit, rather than, I guess you can say, fighting the people that we need to fight, which is our leadership. Because what's going on right now, black people are struggling, white people are struggling, Hispanics are struggling, and there's a bunch of Hispanics that have been in this country. They're natural born American citizens. They're just as American as anyone that's white and black is American. You even got some Africans that they've been in America their entire life. So again, they're just as American as anybody else. It's just that their parents might be from another country. But some of those people are even being deported. So yeah, I don't have no problem coming to you guys and let you guys know that I don't approve of what's going on right now. I don't. I mean, there's a few things I feel that Trump is doing that's right, like requiring truck drivers to be able to speak and read the English language. I agree with that 100%. But I would say there's a lot of things that are going on right now that I don't agree with. And I'm not afraid to tell you guys that, because I'm not one of these super right-leaning conservatives that no matter what Trump does, he's right because I'm conservative. Nah, fuck that. So let's see what else here. So yeah, these are the ways that I feel this country is using racism as a weapon against the American people. Because one thing I'm noticing more and more is whenever a whenever the government is getting ready to do something that the majority of the American people do not support and would not support and would not have voted for, typically what they'll do is there'll be like a series of stories that are racially intense, or a series of stories that they know the average Joe will make racially intense. And they'll put those stories on the news. They'll be plastered all over news, all over social media. Everybody will be in their emotions about it, and we're gonna be so busy being in our emotions that we're not even paying attention to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? What we really need to be focusing on, we're not focusing on because we're too busy over here. You know, getting all emotional over some bullshit. So, yeah. In closing, don't fall for this racist stuff. Don't fall for it. Like when it comes to racism, the way that I deal with racism or bigotry is, if you're rocking me, I rock with you. I don't care about your race. I don't care about your culture. My attitude is, if you're rocking me, I rock with you. You respect me, I respect you. And you know, and obviously when it comes to where I choose to live, I try to live among people that at least respect me. They may not always like me, but if they at least respect me and my property, hey man, we good, we cool. And that's what y'all need to practice. You know, rock with people that rock with you. Live in places that will at least respect you. I mean, they may not all like you, but if they at least respect you, that's really all you can hope for. So that's all I got for this one. Leave a comment below. Let me know how y'all feel. Stay blessed.